Hello, everyone. I'm Darian Gold, and welcome to All Things Pilates Season 6. As we dig deeper into the life of a contrologist, this season's guest list shares what the Pilates methodology can offer to anyone who desires health and wellness. On this show, we'll explore, seek, and investigate what's possible when we incorporate contrology into our lives. Your daughter has cancer. Can there be 4 words more frightening for a parent to hear? Our guest today is Colleen Cappiello, a Pilates studio owner who has found herself juggling the running of her studio and being her daughter's fiercest advocate as her daughter recovers from cancer. When we have outside challenges that impact our ability to run our studios, where or who do we turn to? I'll be discussing this question and more with Colleen. Hello, Colleen. Thank you so much for taking some time out.
Thank you, Darian.
It's nice to see you again.
Same here. I'm excited to be here.
Colleen, how is your daughter?
She is doing great. She is in remission now, and we finished our chemotherapy right before Christmas, 2 days before Christmas. And now there's still a long road ahead of us, but we're moving forward in the right direction. So her prognosis is really good.
How long was she on chemotherapy?
For about 7 months. Yes.
How does that take a toll on the body?
Oh, it takes a pretty big toll, I have to say. Watching her when she was diagnosed, she was a healthy little girl. She was 7 years old, doing gymnastics 6 hours a week. She was an athlete, very competitive. She was competing in gymnastics, super healthy, vibrant, would never think that there was anything wrong with her. And one day she started limping. That's how we discovered that something was wrong. Never that it was.
Did you think she fell off the balance beam incorrectly?
That's exactly what we thought. We thought that she fell off the balance beam, maybe landed a little bit wrong, maybe had a hairline fracture somewhere in her bone. So we did what anyone else would do, is we took her to the doctor. The doctor looked at her leg and said, she's fine. It's probably a little bit sore, and sent us back home. And just rest a little bit, which I can understand. It's no fault of the doctor because what she has is so rare. No one would think that she had cancer. I mean, most kids, it would just be that they were a little bit sore or landed wrong. So the doctor sent us home, and it started to get worse quickly. So she went from a little bit of a limp to barely being able to stand on it within 2 weeks. It was very quick. So I brought her back again, and I said, I really think that there is something wrong here. I'm a little concerned. Still not thinking it would be cancer. I thought maybe there was a fracture. So they sent us for an MRI, and that MRI saved her life. In fact, I think gymnastics saved her life as well. So I was driving my kids home from school one day, and her doctor called me on the phone
God.
and just didn't beat around the bush, just spit it right out and said, your MRI results came in and it's not good. Your daughter has a tumor. You need to see an oncologist tomorrow.
Oh my
And
God.
2 days later, 2 days later, we were in her surgeon's office doing a biopsy and confirming that it was in fact cancer. She had osteosarcoma. And,
Wait, say that again.
Osteosarcoma.
So it's a cancer of the bone?
Yes. Very rare. And within hours, we went straight from his office to Nicholas Children's Hospital in Miami and started treatment immediately.
How is your daughter behaving or responding to the doctor at this point in time?
She really didn't understand what was coming, I don't think. I think she knew something was wrong. She knew that it was serious. We were all trying to digest
And she was
it.
in pain. She was in pain.
She was in pain more it was sore and throbbing and weight bearing. But we didn't even really digest as adults the magnitude of what was coming until we had to process it, and then we had to explain it to her in children's terms what was going to happen. So it happened really fast. I mean, 2 days later, we were getting chemotherapy and just found out that our daughter had cancer. Yeah, it's a lot to digest for anyone. She Children are really resilient, really, really resilient. I always wonder, how would I respond to this information? And I think the difference is that children are just so accepting of the situation. She really didn't question, really, not in the beginning, at least, why is this happening? Or is she just accepted, okay, this is the situation, this is happening, and just dealt with it, which is pretty incredible.
That is a gymnastics mindset. We were definitely taught that you deal with whatever's happening, you get back, you fall down, you get back up. I had rips, giant rips on my hands, bleeding on the bars, practicing one day. And my coach said, okay, chalk up, get back up and do your routine. So it's built
Yeah.
into us, trained into us for sure. So that helped her, like you're saying.
Yes, and gymnastics also saved her life because most children that get diagnosed with osteosarcoma don't get diagnosed until they're between ages 10 and 13. That's the average. And she got diagnosed at 7 years old. And we think it's because of the level of activity she was doing and the high intensity impact on her legs that caused it to fragment through the bone so quickly and cause her pain. So we caught it when it was really early, which gave us a better prognosis than most of the children.
How do you keep yourself mentally and emotionally sane throughout this process?
Well, I wonder if I'm mentally and emotionally sane half the time. You know, I really just try to take it one day at a time. I find that when my mind starts wandering down these rabbit holes of what if, what if, what if. And you can sit and imagine every worst case scenario possible. And then I have to bring myself back to, okay, this is where we're at right now. This is what we're dealing with today. And it's going well. Everything is going according to plan. And so we can celebrate that today. And also I believe in God. So I believe in, I have my faith in God that really helps me through it. I don't know how it must be really challenging for someone to go through it that doesn't have a belief in a higher power or something, because it's hard to explain, to understand what is happening. How did this happen? So that really was comforting for me to help me get through it.
Did you join a support group?
So that is a really interesting question, because in the beginning, I wanted to join a support group and I researched them and I looked for them, and I did find a support group called Gilda's Club, which is an amazing organization down here in Fort Lauderdale. And you go through an interview process, and then they give you they warn you of what you're getting into. So they'll tell you, okay, you want to join a support group. However, you will be in a group where some kids are going to do really well and other kids are not going to do well. And parents deal with this in all different ways. And they're going to deal with things differently than how you deal with them. So you need to be prepared for that.
Did that scare you?
Yes, it did. It did, because while I was in the hospital, I did become friendly with another family. We were living in the hospital. Me and my daughter were living in the hospital for a few months in the beginning, and before we were able to travel back and forth. So you get to meet the families in the hospital. And there was this one little girl who was the same age as my daughter that also had osteosarcoma, but it was wrapped around her spine.
Oh.
And our children were playing one day, and I was like, this is great. I can be friendly with this family, and maybe we can, get to know each other and even have play dates down the road. And that's what I was thinking. But then one day I was getting coffee in the morning and I said, oh, how's your daughter doing? And their daughter took a turn and wasn't doing well. And that's when I decided that, because that threw me for a loop, and it was hard to digest that information. And I decided that I didn't want to be involved that closely at that moment.
It was too new for you, too raw.
It was too difficult. It's enough to handle what your daughter is going through on a day-to-day basis, because it's a marathon, and it's very emotional, and hour to hour it's emotional, and things can change quickly. So I couldn't handle it. I couldn't. So I decided to just kind of take a step back a little bit and just focus on my family, and just getting support in other ways. And let me tell you that people are incredible. The support just comes to you, the love and the just there are so many different support families that I found even within the hospital. Our nurse family was incredible. They're so supportive. The most patient group of people I've ever met in my whole entire life are oncology nurses. They became our family, our church family, our school family, my immediate family, my husband. All of these people really help and came out and supported us. So I felt very supported in every aspect.
And then as you are getting all this amazing support, what is happening at your Pilates business? Are you able to get there, or do you have your teachers that are covering for you?
So luckily this happened after I had opened my doors, and we're up and running, and our business is flourishing. So I was lucky that this happened at a time in our career that we were pretty established by this point. If it were happening while I was opening the studio, it would have been a lot more stressful. But we do have an established group of employees who are phenomenal, and I have my general manager is incredible, and so my team was established, and they really just took the ball and ran with it.
What year is this?
So we've been open. It was 2 years last December, so we're over 2 years now.
Oh,
Yeah.
still kind of new.
Yes. Still kind of new, but enough that I had the same instructors that have been working for me since I opened, the majority of them. Some new instructors, but at least they had the guidance of my core instructors that had been there with me since I started, and a team of people that I could trust, and that had the same vision in me, had the same culture that I was looking for. And my general manager, she's amazing too. And she also carried the vision down to the team to make sure that we weren't losing sight of the type of studio we want to be.
Okay, this is where I'd like to ask you. Instead of deciding to open an independent studio, you decided to buy into a Pilates franchise business,
Yes.
Club Pilates. It's
Yeah.
probably the most well-known, I'm assuming.
Yes.
From the point of view of the student, what's the main attraction to this type of business studio model instead of going to an independent studio?
For me, because I started with Club Pilates as a student as well before I bought into it. So I think the biggest draw is that it's affordable and it's accessible for everybody. So their classes start, well, every studio is a little bit different depending on the needs of the studio, but our classes start at 5:30 a.m. and then our last class starts at 7:30 p.m. and we go all day long. So
Who wants to work out at 5:30 in the morning? That is ridiculous.
we have a waiting list to get in at 5:30 a.m. Yes. Yes. And actually that's when I used to go. Well, the studio I went to opened at 6. That was their earliest class. And I was there in the parking lot 5:45 a.m. every day waiting to get in because I was a mom and I had a career and I was working before my Pilates career. And I was in sales leadership for a distribution company. And so that was the only time I could do Pilates was at 6 a.m. And then I would come home and I would wake up my family and get my kids ready to go to school. And I would take a shower and get ready and go to work.
And that's basically what everyone did at that time of the day.
Yes. Yes. And before that, I was going to private instruction for Pilates. This is in 2020 during COVID when things were shutting down. And I told my husband, I was like, I really need I was running during that time around our neighborhood, which I think a lot of people were walking and running to get some exercise. And I was like, I need more. I really need something more than just running around my neighborhood. So I felt safe doing Pilates with someone. So I found somebody that taught, she had her own little studio. She was a one person operation and she was fantastic. I love her. I still talk to her today. And I started taking Pilates classes, private lessons with her. But it got to be really expensive for me and for my personal situation, for with my children and everything. And I thought, I would love to even take more classes than what we're doing, but it's a lot of money for me to have to pay for private lessons as much as I want to go. So then she actually recommended I try Club Pilates. She told me about it and she's like, "Oh, why don't you try Club Pilates?" And I was like, "That's great because now I can supplement, I can do the private training with her, and then I can do the supplement with the group classes at Club Pilates as well and get more time in." And then I would just apply what I learned in her private training in my practice in the group classes. So that was my introduction to Club Pilates. And I really loved it because I just found that it was just so accessible. Whenever I could fit it into my schedule, there was a class available.
Well, that leads me to how do you keep the integrity, though, of Joe's method when I would say a lot of people in this industry would view Club Pilates, that model, as just a fitness-based workout and not exactly contrology. How do you keep the integrity or can you?
Yeah. Well, we try. We definitely try to. That's our goal. So our goal is not to be it's our intention is not to have everyone come in and do some crazy workout, even though we are a fitness brand. Our goal is to make it accessible for everybody that comes in, whether you're an athlete or maybe a senior that really just needs to move more. So we try to make it accessible for everybody, and then we try to make it safe for everyone. And in our training, we make sure that everyone is comprehensively certified with a minimum of 500 hours. And in that teaching, that they learn about contrology and they understand the purpose of the movements and the progressions and the mind body connection. And then within that format, we try to group everyone in where they are in their practice into different levels so that if you're a beginner to Pilates, you're in a level 1 class, which is our beginner class. Or if you're, a super advanced, you would be in our master level class. And within this way, the instructor that's teaching the class has everyone, for the most part, within a specific level range. Now, with 12 people in the class, is it always going to be perfect? No, it's not. But the goal is...
Is it always 12 people?
Well, it could be up to 12. So we have 12 reformers, but we don't always have 12 people in the class. Sometimes the class might have 10 people in it or 8 people in it. It just depends on how many people signed up for the class.
You have 12 reformers, and then do you have 12 chairs and 12?
Yes, we do. So every station, everyone has their own station, so they don't have to share the equipment. So in each station, we have a springboard, a chair, a reformer, some foam rollers, a Bosu ball, a TRX for our suspension system.
For each person.
Yes, for each person. This way, everyone can get the level of instruction at the same time. So within that, we do offer modifications for somebody that might not be able to do what the instructor prepared. So we try to make it as individualized as possible. So within a certain exercise, we might modify for somebody that might not be ready to do the full progression yet. And then we'll give them choices and options.
There's a format and an order that you learn through the Club Pilates curriculum.
Yes.
Are you allowed to make independent decisions, or do you have to call corporate and get permission?
So there are guidelines. So in every class, we ask that they do a warm up Okay, so you have to incorporate within. So you have the ability to put the class together yourself. So you have, as an instructor, the freedom to do whatever you would like in the class, as long as you are including a full body workout. So meaning that you touch on everything. You move the spine in every direction in every class. That you always warm up in the beginning. You always do strengthening exercises and lengthening exercises, and then functional full body movement exercises. And then you end with lengthening. And then there's a bridge training that they go through to help guide them so that they understand what would fit within, like, more of like, okay, what fits like in what section. So like, for instance, warm up, start with footwork, warming up. So certain things like that, but you don't always have to, as long as they don't tell you what exercise to do. Like, you have the choice of to put together a class however you want, as long as you're doing those things. Like, they'll say, okay, as you put your class together, did you move the spine in all different directions? Was it a full body workout? So more like that. It's more guiding you like that.
Are these teachers monitored?
No, they're not monitored. No. However, we do have as an owner and our general manager, and we have lead instructors. So we do make sure that our instructors, like, every once in a while, I hate to use the word audit because it feels like someone's like, breathing down your back, but it's not like that. It's more of like, we're there. We have awareness. And so if we find that somebody is not following the guideline, we'll usually catch wind of it either through, we'll hear it feedback from the members,
student. Yeah.
Or if we find that people are complaining that they're getting injured in the classes, we might say, okay, well, let's take a look at that instructor's flows to see maybe they need, a quick refresher on what is allowed to go in the classes. And that's another thing I didn't touch on, is that we do have guidelines on what we consider safe, because it is a group of 12. And so we want to make sure that when someone is in that level, that they've all, for the most part, are ready to do certain things. So we're not going to have our level 1 class standing on the reformer, because we want to make sure that it's safe for them to stand on the reformer. So there are certain things that they have to progress to, like they can't, our level 1 doesn't use the chair right away. So we want to make sure that that's level 1.5. So level 1 is more just focusing on the fundamentals.
On the reformer, not the mat.
Well, it could be, no, and mat too. We incorporate mat. We do have mats next to the reformer. So we do a lot of mat work. And mat can be, as you know, harder than the reformer.
Oh, yes.
So we like to show them in the level 1 class, we like to do both. And that's a great way to show them how the reformer can be helping them. And then we might do the same exercise on the mat, progress them to the mat so that they can feel the difference. But we want to make sure that in our level 1, that they understand the purpose of the exercise, because a lot of them come in from, maybe they had experience at the gym and they never did Pilates before. And you start with footwork and they're like, I don't feel anything, load up the springs, because they don't understand the connection. So that's the purpose of level 1, is to really slow it down and really focus on the principles of Pilates so that they understand the whole connection.
They have to reframe entirely how they work.
Yes.
They're used to working outside in.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yes. For some people, you couldn't put on enough springs for them.
Oh, yeah. They want to load it up. They're like, I lift a lot more than this in the gym. And I'm like, okay, well, but then once they get it, once they have that aha moment, or sometimes we'll even just put one spring on, so they can really slow it down and feel it. And then they're like, oh, that is harder than having all the springs on.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Your teachers go through, I'm assuming, continuing education. Does Club Pilates offer that, or do they have to seek that out?
So they can do both. We do provide a lot of ongoing education. So we do have an online portal that our instructors have access to, which has just a wealth of knowledge. So there's tons of videos, workshops on there, shoulder injuries, contraindications, pregnancy, different things like that, ideas on how to put classes together. It's just a plethora of information. It's a hub And then we also have monthly, or sometimes there's even two in a month of virtual workshops where they can even get their CECs for that if they're trying to renew. A lot of them like to do the National Pilates Certification Program. So if they need certain CECs for that, we do have different workshops available for them. And there's usually about two a month that they can go virtually and sign up for. And they're fantastic.
How many instructors do you have?
God, right. So it's like an ebb and flow depending on, Pilates instructors are always like moving and so much going on. But I want to say I have about eight right now, eight instructors.
How many members?
Oh gosh. We have about, so we flow depending on the time of year. So we're in season, but we usually flow between 300 and 500 members, depending,
Oh
and not
my
all at
goodness.
once. So not all at once because they're not all coming in and taking class at the same time.
That would be
So,
a problem.
oh yeah, they would not be able, we wouldn't be able to fit them. But 300 to 500 is the range for most studios. We are a popular studio down here in South Florida. I think it's because it's warm out and people love to move down here. In season, we tend to be a little bit busier than off season.
Off season is when it's
Yeah,
120 degrees.
that's our summertime. So, yeah.
Was there anything that surprised you about becoming a Pilates business owner?
Yes. The biggest surprise for me was one, how much I love to build the community. I love just building the relationship with my members and with the community because I love to partner with different businesses in the community. And I didn't realize how much I was going to enjoy that process until I was in it and hearing people's stories and hearing why they I always ask everyone, like, what made you decide to come in today? Like, why'd you decide to sign up for Pilates? And their answer always surprises me because
Can
it's
you give an
never,
example?
yes. When I first did it, I thought people were going to come in and say, oh, I want to lose 10 pounds, because you think that's what would bring them in, even though we know how powerful Pilates is. It's so much more than that. But I always thought their perception would be, I want to lose weight. I want to look like a ballerina. But everyone has a different why, and everyone's journey is so different and unique. And there are people that would come in that would say, I just got divorced and I just need a place to go to meet other people. I need a community. And then that was their entry into Pilates. And then from there, they discover how healing it is and how amazing it is. And then there was this one woman who her son was young and died. It was a tragic death. I think he got into a car accident or something. It was very sudden. And she didn't leave the house for 6 months because she was devastated. And that was her reason to leave the house every day, was to get up and to come to Pilates and to start moving. And then she found it to be so healing and to build relationships with other people. There are people this one woman who couldn't put her shoes on for 10 years. And one day we have these milestone boards where when you hit 100 classes, you get to sign the board. And she went to go sign the board and she brought in her whole family, her husband and our children. And she just started crying and weeping. And she said, you've changed my life. She's like, I couldn't put my shoes on for 10 years. I didn't even think it was possible. I have never felt like this before. I feel like a new person and I love life again. It really is so healing and so magical to hear everyone's journey.
When you started your Pilates journey, could you have imagined where you are today?
No. No,
Where did you start?
I started when over 20 years ago and going to college. So my parents sent me to college, but I really wanted to be a ballet dancer so bad. So I was doing both. And I knew I was going to be able to continue ballet forever. And I was looking for something else where I could still get the benefits of moving. And so my dance teacher recommended, she was teaching gyrotonic and I had never heard of it before. So she said, why don't you come there, come to the studio and try a session. So I started studying gyrotonic and they did Pilates there as well. So I took some gyrotonic and Pilates classes there, which was crazy because looking back on it, I was a broke college student. I don't even know how I afforded it. But I did it. I guess when there's a will, there's a way. But I really couldn't afford it. So she said, why don't you become an instructor? So I decided to get certified in gyrotonic and just
This is in
love
New York City?
it. In New York City. Yes. And at the Sal Anthony Movement Salon. And I just loved movement. I love dance. I love movement. I just love to move my body. It makes me feel complete.
Alive.
Yes, it makes me feel so good about myself. When I'm not moving, I don't
Feel
feel like
like
my best
shit.
self. Yes, I do. I don't feel like my
Yes.
best self. And life is more enjoyable when you're healthy and your body is healthy.
That's Joe's message right there.
Yes. And so when I took a hiatus from movement when I moved to Florida because gyrotonic didn't exist down here. So I got into a different career path. I was in the food industry, got into food distribution, went down a whole culinary path, moved to Italy, went to culinary school. So a master of a lot of trades. And then so like 15 years later during COVID, I was locked down and I was kind of burnt out from my corporate sales leadership job. And I said to my husband, I was locked in my house with a 1 year old and a 3 year old, or 1 and a 4 year old. And we were doing virtual preschool, which will make anyone insane. And I said to my husband, I think I want to change careers and I want to take this time to do it since we're all locked down and figure it out. So he said, go ahead. And he's like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to open a Pilates studio. It makes me feel great. And I want other people to feel that way too. And when I started researching the business models, and I was working at the time with that lovely instructor who I was doing privates with, she sat with me and showed me, we put together a business model. And I actually was planning on working with her at the time. But the reason I didn't move forward is because I want everyone to feel this way. And I wanted it to be more affordable and more accessible. And I knew that when I went back to work, I wouldn't be able to do what I was willing to teach people. And I wanted people, the mom, to go at 6 a.m. and be able to do Pilates. And I wanted people, hey, if you can't afford to do the privates, start somewhere. Be able to do at least the group classes to start moving. I want just everyone to feel healthier. That was important to me in the decision-making process.
That was your main motivation.
Yes, that helped me ink the deal for Club Pilates. That was, so circling back to your previous question, that really was the why on why I moved forward with Club Pilates versus an independent studio. That, and to be honest with you, let's just all be fair. I had a 1 year old kid, and it's a little scary opening up your own business by yourself, and having the support of a franchise was really attractive to me. And if I hadn't done it, I don't know how I would have supported my child through cancer and have been able to really disconnect that much from the business and be able to run it at a high level like that without the support of the franchise.
Hey everyone, want to level up your teaser? When I'm not interviewing or editing, I'm helping students just like you get to the next level. If you'd like to understand the Contrology technique, come learn from me, whether online or in person. Just know I'm here and happy to help. Now, back to the interview. Do you enjoy running your studio, or I'm assuming you also teach at your studio?
Yeah, so that's another interesting thing because when I open my studio, I really enjoy teaching. I love teaching and I get so much pleasure out of teaching. And I envision myself to be more of a teacher at my studio. However, life just keeps moving me into a different role. And I really feel like I need to stop fighting it and really embrace my purpose because it's shouting at me that, hey, maybe I teach for the pleasure of it, but maybe that's not my real purpose in the Pilates industry. Maybe my space is to create an environment for people to do Pilates. Maybe the building that community and that foundation for people is more of my purpose at this moment. So I have not been teaching for since my daughter got diagnosed. I took a step away from teaching.
Do you foresee her doing Pilates to heal?
So actually we are doing Pilates now, and it's Pilates is magical. It really is so healing
Uh,
because in the beginning I was afraid when so just to fill in our listeners, her bone cancer was in her leg. So they had to remove 5 inches of her femur bone and replace it with titanium. And then they put a titanium rod from her hip all the way down through the center of her bone to her lower tibia, and it's connected by a plastic knee replacement. So I was a little gun shy of pulling the trigger on Pilates right away. We started with physical therapy, which we are doing now. And once I sat there and I watched them doing physical therapy, I'm like, this is the same thing that we do in Pilates. I can do this. And in some aspects, we can do some of it a little bit better. And there are some things there that they do better. So, but for instance, footwork is incredible because I started,
are you documenting this? Oh, you have to.
but
Oh, you must.
I do want to help other people
Oh, you have to document this.
I figure it out because and it's not perfect. There are things I am trying to figure out as I go along because there's no book for this.
No, you're creating the book. You're creating the manual right now.
But when she was walking, she couldn't put her heel down and she was walking on Barbie toes. So I started doing footwork and literally within 1 week, she was walking with her heel down. I mean, and also we were trying to get her, they cut her quad muscle and we had a hard time firing up her quad and getting it engaged. So even though they were doing squats with her in physical therapy, the quad was not firing up. So just by doing simple footwork and some, feet and straps and some certain exercises, her quad within days fired up. And when we went back to physical therapy, the girl could not believe it. She's like, I've never seen your quad shake like that before. And it turned on and it's amazing. So I mean, she's only 8 years old now. So I don't do a whole hour Pilates session with her because she can't focus that long on Pilates, especially after all her doctor's appointments, school, bath time, homework time, all of that. It's a lot. So I'm trying to figure out what that's going to look like for her. It's my first time training an 8-year-old. I usually work with adults. They don't think the way we do. So I'm trying to do it in a playful way. How can I make this fun and keep her engaged? So because she wants to play and make everything a game. So I'm trying to figure out how can we make this more fun? But I do see a need for the full body because you can't just treat a body part. And Joe talks about this and it is so true. And I think that's what they do in physical therapy is they focus on the body part. And I'm looking at the whole body, the whole person and how it's affecting everything. Because when you start to work on rehab one thing, the whole body. So I'm trying to figure out what is that going to look like? And we're exploring, we're playing around.
Plus, she has movement patterns from gymnastics.
Yes. Yes.
Which might need to be unraveled as well.
Yeah.
So she'll get much more support from the rest of her body as her leg heals.
Yes. Yeah.
It's heart-wrenching and yet exciting.
It is. We try to focus on the silver lining. And I really believe in stories of adversity. There's always something that comes out the other side that's so positive and a blessing. So where will this take us? I don't know, but I would love to help other families that might need to work with children or rehab or oncology. I don't really know what form this will take. It's just all unraveling now. And then for Olivia, where will this take her? Because her experience, I'm sure, I mean, I feel like this was a gift given to her to go through something at such a young age. When other kids are learning multiplication and division, she was playing organizer, which is a game where you can take apart the whole entire body and put it back together again. So she can pretty much take apart, she can name all the organs and put them back in. And that was important to us at that moment, but other 8-year-olds didn't have that experience. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I
definitely encourage you to be documenting this, even if you're not recording, which would be amazing, just to keep writing, even in your voice memo on your phone.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. I haven't even considered that because I think when you're in it,
You're too in it. You're too
forget.
in it.
Yes. And another opportunity that I discovered is, hospitals, they're so focused on treating these symptoms that there's such a big opportunity for hospitals to make families healthier.
That's Joe
And
again. Yep.
I don't know where I can't stop thinking about that either because I was living in the hospital and I felt the unhealthiest I ever felt in my life. They call their cafeteria is supposed to be healthier than eating in a restaurant, but it's not. It's all processed food. Just because it says whole wheat on the label, it's not healthy. I gained 10 pounds living there from not having access to healthy food. And then trying to move, even as a Pilates instructor, I tried to give myself mat classes in the hospital, but it's really hard because you don't know how sanitary it is to put a mat on the floor. So I'm trying to do it on my little couch that I was on and trying to move. And then you also don't mentally feel so great watching your daughter lay there next to you. So, she wasn't feeling good. So there's an opportunity to offer more care for the families that are there.
I love that.
I really wish that they did have Pilates mat classes, which I would love. Some hospitals have yoga classes for the families. The hospital I was at didn't have anything.
You have a big old purpose now.
It's a lot of work to be done. And I don't know if or what I will accomplish, but definitely was exposed to the needs.
I think you will accomplish a great deal of healing on the planet. I really feel that.
Or maybe inspire, one of my students to do it as well, because one thing I've learned is that we don't have to do everything ourselves.
Community.
There's a community and there's teamwork. And I used to think that I had to do everything myself. When I opened up the studio, I thought I was going to be teaching all these classes and I was going to turn into a master instructor. But I find so much enjoyment in lifting other people up and developing other people. And I just promoted a lead instructor in my studio. And I enjoy watching her grow into the role. And I want her to become a master instructor. And I just get so much enjoyment watching my students complete the teacher training or watching my GM overcome a fear she had. And so I used to think I have to be the one to do all these things. But maybe I just need to create the space or create the opportunity for someone to do it. I don't have to own everything. That's what I'm learning in my life right now.
And this leads me to my last question. During our pre-interview, you said something that really caught my attention. And you spoke about teachers and what they leave behind for future generations. You likened his or her legacy to raindrops. Will you say more about that?
Yeah. So I always feel like you could compare our legacy to raindrops on a lake. So I always imagine my life on earth as if I were a raindrop. And I imagine this pristine, clear, still lake. And then I'm a raindrop. When I hit the lake, you see ripples and waves that just go outward. And it just affects the whole lake. Even though you only touch one part of the lake, the ripples go outward and it affects everybody. And that's what I like to tell my students and my children, that we have an awesome responsibility in our lives, and think, what is your purpose in life? Or how do you want to be remembered in your legacy and what you decide purposely to do? And for me, I want to create a space where people can get healthier, as many people as possible. That's the legacy I want to leave behind. And that's why I intentionally opened up the studio that I have today. And it's an awesome responsibility because you have an opportunity to affect a lot of people, and you can affect them negatively or positively. So what kind of an impact are you going to have on somebody today?
Raindrops. You should have I'm always talking about t-shirts, some kind of t-shirt with the raindrop analogy or something.
Yes. So we're only on Earth for a short
blink
time.
of the eye.
It goes so fast, but Even when you leave, people remember you. And how are they going to remember you?
How can people reach out to you? They'd like to come take a lesson or become a member.
Yes. Yes. So they can reach out to us. You can find us by just Googling Club Pilates Pompano Beach. Our website is clubpilates.com/Pompano Beach. Our phone number is 954-773-9870. And you can also email the studio at pompanobeach@clubpilates.com. If somebody wanted to contact me personally, they also could as well. You can reach me at colleen.cappiello@clubpilates.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as well.
Wonderful. I wish you continued success and healing for your daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you for the opportunity to connect with your listeners.
Yes. Thank you. And I hope to see you when I come back to Florida.
Sounds good. We'll have to have you as a guest at our studio.
Definitely.
We would love to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All Things Pilates is produced, written, edited, and hosted by me, Darian Gold. Mastered audio mix, Fabian Romero. Original music, aka Johnny. And we'd love for you to leave us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That way you let all of us know what you like about All Things Pilates. Also, if you're interested in helping to support this podcast, become a subscriber. It helps to cover all the back-end costs that accrue when producing a show. To learn more about how you can be part of our growing community, check out our show notes. God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrow, sun without rain. But God did promise strength for the day, comfort for the tears, and light for the way. If God brings you to it, God will bring you through it.